I'm Warren Berkley. I'm here with Jay Taylor, and we're going to talk about books and reading, especially during this time that so many people are having to spend at home, when schedules may lend themselves to more time to get out the books and start reading, or keep reading, or read more. Jay is a preacher friend of mine. He works as one of the preachers at the Stallings Drive Church of Christ in Nacogdoches, Texas. We've known each other for about 15 years, and we are reading buddies. We compare reading experience, we share book ideas, and Jay has reviewed some of the books I've published. So I asked him to join me in a conversation about reading. Hello, Jay.
Hey Warren, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. We're going to get right at it. Tell us, when did your reading habits develop? Where did they come from? Have you always been an avid reader? Where did that all start with you?
Okay, that all started in the fifth grade. I had a teacher who would read to the class every day after lunch, and she read with such excitement and such passion. And that's really where I can trace all my reading back to. I really got excited about reading from her. And I guess from then on into middle school, high school, just kept on reading, and here we are today. But I give Miss Jensen in fifth grade all the credit.
That's great. And this served you very well when you started your preaching work.
Absolutely. So there was no learning curve. You just jump right into it. You've already got the discipline there. You've already been reading. So I like reading. So it was no problem.
All right. Uh, Tell me some of the books that you're reading right now. Maybe you've got a couple that you're working on. Some of us who are avid readers will be working on two or three books at one time, and it kind of depends on what we're working on and what mood we're in. What are you working on right now in your reading?
Okay, I've got a couple that I'm working on. In our daily Bible reading, we're about to transition from the Gospels into the epistles. And so this is a book. It's from the pen of Paul, and it's all about the Apostle Paul's letters. This is edited by Nathan Ward. And so I've just been preparing to start reading through Romans and the rest of Paul's epistles. And you have different writers here, but it just provides a great introduction to Paul's letters. And so I appreciate what the gentlemen have done with this book. So that's the one I'm just kind of going through slowly right now. Another book, this is Studies in Church History. These are essays in honor of Daniel Petty. Of course, Daniel Petty associated with Florida College for many decades. And these are a collection of his essays at the end of the book. And then there's contributors, former students, former colleagues, and they've done a good job with a wide range of good articles here. So this is really good work, and about halfway through this one. And then one more that I'm working on by Eric Fauner. This is Gateway to Freedom, the history of the Underground Railroad. So I always try to keep a history book somewhere close to me. And he's written about Reconstruction, Civil War, Abraham Lincoln, and this is kind of been my go-to nighttime reading so far. So that's what I'm currently dealing with right now.
Okay, ask me what I'm reading.
Yeah, what are you reading, Warren?
I'm working on the Proverbs. I'm teaching a class on Proverbs. So obviously, for preachers and teachers, whatever we're working on at the time, we're probably going to be reading a book that pertains to that. So this is by Mike Wilson, Biblical Secrets of Success, Wisdom from Proverbs, a very simple workbook type publication. It's helped me a great deal. And then I'm reading The Winter of Life, because sometime, I may be there. The Winter of Life by
One day.
Sewell Hall. Sewell Hall is an excellent writer. I think I try to read everything that he's written, and this is really good. You've got chapters in here about individual people in the Bible, and there is even memory work. I haven't heard that in a long time. Memory work at the end of each chapter, and questions and fill in the blanks. So it's kind of old style in terms of what you have at the end of each chapter, but really really good work. And then I try to read something all the time that doesn't directly pertain to biblical studies and preaching. And so I'm reading this monster, Write Anything. I mean, you can read in here about writing letters, email, books, articles, text messages, and this is a monster. But it's in a real good format. And that leads me to this question. Do you use a highlighter and write in your books like some people do?
I do not use a highlighter, but I do write my books. I have a pencil and I underline, make notes, uh, just mark up the pages, and usually I'll transfer those notes to a kind of what I call a master sheet, and I can put that sheet in a file. And if I'm thinking about something that I've read, I'll go to that file and look at that paper, and that will kind of direct me to which book I was reading at the time and what I was thinking and all of that. But I'm a big marker. Yes.
Yes, I mark in mine too, and I highlight. And what I've discovered with highlighting, if you have a really good writer and you're really into it, you're going to highlight entire pages. And so highlighting
Exactly. Yes.
gets to a point of no return or overkill, but I write in mine all the time. Do you have a special place where you do your book reading?
At the building, in my office is where I do most of my Bible reading early in the morning, first thing. And we'll talk more about Bible reading, I guess, later on. But that's primarily where I do most of my reading in the morning. Uh, at the house, I've got a corner of the couch. My wife has her space, my daughter has her space, and I've got just a tiny little cushion on the couch. And that's where I do the majority of my reading at home. That's my special reading corner. How about you?
Well, the reading that pertains to my preaching and teaching work, generally I will do in my office. And then, like this other book I was reading, usually at night, uh, when my wife is watching Hallmark or something that I'm really not into, I will have my iPad and my Kindle app, and I'll be reading there. That leads me to this: digital, paper, or both for you? Preference?
99% paper. I like to have the book in my hand. I like to turn pages back and forth. Um, Recently, I've been reading just a few things on Kindle, not too much. If I'm not able to get a book, I'll see if I can download it onto my Kindle. And usually, I'll spend the maybe the last 20 minutes of the day just reading from my Kindle and just reading various things. But primarily, I'm a book guy.
I read both with books and Kindle. And I tell you, when I read with Kindle, sometimes if you're in a doctor's office in a waiting room, you can get tons of reading done. And another thing I've discovered that's been very useful for me, when I'm back in the bedroom late at night reading, I can highlight something in the Kindle and I can actually send it to my printer. And so the next morning when I come into my office, if I remember to have the tray out, or if I don't, it's on the floor. I've got all these things that I copied, and that becomes a huge advantage to come in your office and have notes that you took the previous evening right there in your printer tray, ready to go. Okay, we're going to go to some categories. I'm going to try to share a screen here, and we're going to talk about categories of books. Are you able to see that there?
Yeah, we can see. No
Okay.
problem.
All right, let's go through 4 or 5 categories. I know that you like to read history, and there is a particular kind of biographical history that you're fond of. Tell us about that.
I love presidential biographies. That's really what I spend most of my time reading. And just started with, I'm going to pick one biography of a president and read straight through Washington and then all the way on. And then one biography on Washington turns into 10 biographies on Washington. And then that equals just several hundred biographies on presidents. But yeah, that's my main historical reading is presidential biographies right now.
And is there a category that you would call practical things that you read about? I think you
Yeah,
shared some things with me that are very practical.
yeah, I like. I think there's quite a few people who are familiar with Tim Challies. He has a blog. Uh, he's put out a book about productivity, and this is one of my go-to books. He stresses daily routines, things like that. I operate very well with routine, and so practical reading would be things like what he's putting out there about productivity, having a to-do list, calendar, having some type of organization to what you do. So I find that very beneficial.
So public speaking and
Oh
writing,
yeah.
communicating. I know we've shared a lot of ideas about that. And by the way, Tim, that you just mentioned, the guy that does all the blogging, I think he may be located in Canada.
Yes, yes,
He has a whole series of documentaries out. And
yes.
I looked those up on Amazon and then I saw that you had to pay for them. So I've got to wait until the wife makes room for that in the budget. Have you watched those?
No, I've been reading about him. You know, he was traveling all across the world, and he was putting these things out there, and it's completed. They're available to watch, but I haven't seen any of them yet.
Both of us are waiting for our wives to put that in the budget.
Ex- yes, we need approval. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we do. Motivational books.
Motivational books. There's a fella, David Cottrell, who was in the corporate world, and he does a lot of motivational speaking. He's got a book called Monday Morning Choices. And this has been one of my go-to books that I just recommend quite a bit. He talks about in that book character choices and then action choices, and he talks about investment choices, investing in people. And so basically, in Monday Morning Choices, when you make those character choices and the action choices and the investment choices, you're going to have everything pretty much squared away. A lot of leadership material by David Cottrell. I appreciate what he writes.
Good. Are there categories that you might call fun, where it's not really academic or practical or historical or motivational? It's kind of a getaway in your head. You just want to read something fun. You have any of that?
Yes, I am working through a series of novels and short stories by an English novelist, P.G. Wodehouse. And from the 1920s to the 1970s, he put out a series of stories about uh, an English character named Wooster and his valet or butler, Jeeves and Wooster. And it's English comedy. It's just one of these things I read just to get away from everything. So that'd be my fun category.
I read a book years ago by Bob Newhart. Everybody who's familiar with television in the 70s and 80s knows about the Bob Newhart shows. And I don't have the title or publisher handy right now, but it was just fun reading. Sometimes you just need to take your mind out of the academic circle and the intense stuff and do something similar to Bob Larson cartoons
I,
in your head and just read stuff like that. All right, we've talked about historical, practical, motivational fun. Now we want to elevate our discussion. Talk to me about daily Bible reading.
all right, I'm really big on daily Bible reading. That's one of the things I try to stress, not only in my preaching, Bible studies, but just one-on-one encounters with people about daily Bible reading. And one of the things we've done at Stallings over the last few years is we've provided a calendar, and we've done different things with the calendar, chronological reading, or maybe have an Old Testament reading and then a New Testament reading. And we put this out at the end of every year, so everybody has the opportunity to start in January. Sometimes we start off with a bang. Sometimes we get to Leviticus and we slow down a little bit, but we really stress daily Bible reading in what we do at Stallings.
You know, one of the things that preachers have to keep in mind, a lot of what preachers read is very directly related to their class work and their pulpit work. Is there some sort of a process that you use to kind of separate that out so that you're doing reading for your personal spiritual discipline that is somehow separate from what you do from your preaching and teaching?
Absolutely. That was a challenge early on because you're constantly preparing sermons and Bible lessons and Bible studies, and so you have certain text in front of you, and you're thinking, well, I'm reading the Bible. But then I think we all realize at one point in time, we've got to take time for ourselves. We've got to just to be fed from the Word of God ourselves and in our own private devotions. So what I do is I use that calendar that we hand out, and I make sure the first thing I do in the morning when I get to the office is I have a good maybe 40, 45 minutes to an hour where I'm reading through the text, I'm thinking about the text, I'm making notes about the text. It has nothing to do with the sermon. It has nothing to do with Bible class, and it's just me with the word, and that's very important, I think, for preachers to be doing that.
Yes, it is. Now, we're in a time when a lot of people are at home and have time they didn't have 2 or 3 weeks ago. Let's talk about, is this a good time to catch up? And is this a good time to get started? Talk to me about a little bit of that.
Yeah, I just read a blog this morning, and the author of the blog was saying that one of our biggest complaints about daily Bible reading is, well, we don't have enough time. And so if we can't start Bible reading now with all the time we have, we're just not going to do this. And so this may be the time to where we sit down with the family, we gather the kids in the living room, and we say, you know what? Mom and Dad, we haven't been doing this. We have not been stressing this. We have neglected this, and we're going to start right now. We're just going to have some family time reading the Bible, and then that could be the point in which Mom and Dad start reading themselves. The kids are reading by themselves, but then everybody comes together and maybe talk about what they've been reading. So this is a great opportunity. The next week or two, a month or two that we have. Uh, just to pick up daily Bible reading. And if we do that, it's going to be a habit. It's going to be something we'll carry with us, but we have to start.
That's right. And the challenge will be when things go back to routine to keep this in your schedule. That will be
Keep
the
it, yeah.
next big challenge.
Right.
Okay, are there any periodicals that you are aware of, maybe digital periodicals that can help you in your spiritual growth, your discipleship?
Well, there's several that are available. Pressing On, of course, is one that is available, and of course, this month I believe that it's free this month and it's made available to everybody. But Pressing On is really good because of the authors, the content, and just the ease of being able to pull it up on your phone, just whatever platform you use. And so that's really a go-to one.
And it comes, if you have a Kindle device, you can set that up where it will automatically come into your Kindle the first of every month or around the first of every month, and you won't have to do anything, or you'll get an email and you click on that email, whatever form you need for your platform. It comes in EPUB, and it comes in EPUB is for Nook and iPad. It also comes in Kindle, and there's a PDF. Almost
Right.
anybody can read a PDF. And I should put a disclaimer in here. I'm the assistant editor. Mark Roberts is the editor of Pressing On. I'm the assistant editor, and some of the people who are watching this may be aware that I do book reviews in Pressing On every month, and the title of that column is What's on My Kindle. Sometimes I cover a paperback book that is dual published in both digital and paper. Sometimes I'll write about a book that's just in paper, but the name of the column is What's on My Kindle. And we're going to put in the comments underneath this video recording a link so that you can get Pressing On. And we're also going to put a link in there about a variety of Bible reading, daily Bible reading plans. Here at Laurel Heights, we've been using the Daily Bible by Lagarde, arranged by Lagarde. We've been using this for many, many years, and it serves us well. But there are other plans that really work really well to get you involved in daily Bible reading. And now during the shutdown, is the time to get that started. Okay, Jay, I'm going to give you the last word before I close out. Anything else you'd like to say about books or reading?
Well, there's one more book I recommend, and this is really good for families. This is a practical guide, and this may be good for this period of time. It's the Life and Faith Field Guide for parents, and there are about 52 chapters. You can take maybe a chapter a week, and you can work through some of these topics with your kids. But these are practical skills, skills for habits for Bible engagement, skills and habits for interacting with other people, character development, engaging culture, learning, evangelism. It's by Joe Carter. This would be really good to spend some time maybe after your Bible reading and Bible discussions, just to go through one chapter, maybe through a week, and get the kids involved. Like me, when I was in fifth grade, I really got into reading, and maybe this is the time where some of our young people become readers.
Okay. Thanks so much, Jay. I tell you,
Thank you.
we may do this again. We may have started something, and it may be the challenge for us to keep this going and get on here every now and then, talk about books we've read and books that we recommend, and help people get those Bibles open and do their daily Bible reading.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Warren.
Okay.